Good morning, Los Angeles. How's it going? So, today, as you know, is your first exam, and it is 7:40, so we are going to hop straight to it today, folks. Big idea here today being that I don't want to take up a bunch of your time as you utilize class time to take. Man, I cannot talk today to get things done. And so the test is complete. It is, I think I'd better double check here real quick to make sure it's published, which it is not, but now is. So you only have today to do this. This is not an assignment that you can do late. This is not a thing where you'll be able to do it this afternoon. You're only going to be able to do it today. I mean, you can do it this afternoon, but you won't be able to do it tomorrow, okay? It closes at 11:59 p.m. So if you don't get it done by 11:59 p.m., sorry, you take a 0 on it. So because there's no making up tests. You got to do them on time. So the way that this is going to work is I wanted to just take some time to explain to you what you can expect to see on the exam today. So let me just talk a little bit about that. So obviously, the first test is going to be all on content from Unit 1, which includes chapters 11 and 12. And so anything that you've learned about in this unit from lectures or from your reading guides or the primary source documentation that we've been analyzing or anything is fair game for the test. The way that the test is formatted, there are 30 multiple choice questions. You have 30 minutes to get that done. And then there is a short answer section where you have three. Okay, so the way that it's going to be is you have 3 questions, but then within each of those 3 questions, there are 3 sub-questions. Okay, so really you've got 9 things to respond to, and you do need to respond to all 9 of them if you want to get a perfect score on the test, which I want to mention something about right now. Kids, I wasn't born yesterday. I grew up with the internet. I know the temptation to use outside sources to be looking things up. Keep in mind, this is a timed exam. The longer you spend searching for things and so on, the more time you're going to waste ultimately. That's number 1. Number 2, this test is deliberately designed to be challenging, meaning that if you're getting a perfect score on the test and then I look at all the results and everybody's getting perfect scores, I'm obviously going to know what's going on. The way that this should work is that if you're doing honest work and you have integrity and you're not cheating to look up the answers to the test, this is a determination of the test is the main metric that I use to separate those who know what they're talking about and those who do not yet know what they are talking about. Okay, so if you're cheating on it and everybody's getting perfect scores, I'm going to know. The test is deliberately hard to make it so that the only way that if everybody got perfect scores is if they were in fact cheating on it. The penalty for cheating at the high school is the same anywhere. You get a 0 on it. Okay. So, and it's not to say that you couldn't get a perfect score, but it would be really difficult to. And, it's common where when I do tests in this class, averages come out to be about 50 or 60%. You don't need to worry about that if everybody is being honest. The more people that cheat, the less the curve is. The test is a curved test. So the averages falling in the 50 to 60% range are okay because it doesn't, in terms of the bearing it has on your grade, it's recoverable. It's not like an F or something like that. It turns into roughly a C, okay? But if the average of the test goes up to a 90%, no more curve, you know? And that's that. So do not cheat on the test unless you want to get a 0. And so just be honest. That's really what it comes down to, is just being honest and doing your own work. Now, before I turn you loose on the actual exam, I want to talk about a couple of different things. First of all, the multiple choice questions that you're going to see are not just straight multiple choice questions. They are attached to a particular stimulus. These are what's known as stimulus-based multiple choice questions, which means that there's like a small piece of text or a map or a picture or whatever, a little historical primary resource that text is deliberately asking you about. Now, the thing about this is that, you know, try and read the question and use smart text-taking strategies to make a determination on what it's asking you before you even read the passage. There's ways of maximizing your time on the test, which is a time test. You have 30 minutes for the multiple choice section. You have 40 minutes for the short answer section, but they're all lumped together. So for the whole test, you have 1 hour and 10 minutes to complete it. Okay, 1 hour and 10 minutes to complete the entire test. Once that 1 hour, 10 minute mark is hit, the test closes and you just take the score of wherever you left off. So you need to be making progress and moving forward in how you do this. So read the question first. The other thing to mention is if you've got a lengthy passage, okay, a lengthy passage, they will throw those in there sometimes to deliberately throw you off. I format my test the same way that the AP exam does to give you as much real world practice for taking the AP exam as possible. If they throw in a super lengthy text, look immediately at the source and then the questions. Don't read the text first and then read the source and then read the questions. Source first, questions first. See if you can make some educated determinations about the sorts of things that, you know, they're asking you. All right. And then if you need to go back and read the text, sometimes you will, sometimes you may not. In terms of reading the text, remember that sometimes they're asking you about things that may not necessarily be in the actual words of the text, but are somehow related to ideas connected to the text outside of the text. So they may ask about other people who would agree or disagree with that text, or they might ask about what came before or after that text, or whatever it is. So just have an understanding that when these questions are designed to get you to think, they're deliberately made to be challenging and get you to think. And so you need to be kind of thinking in terms of context and using some of those analytical abilities that I've started to teach you guys and help you guys develop as you're taking this test, to make sure that you're, you know, putting things into a historical context and you're making connections between different phenomena. Okay, as far as the short answer goes, the short answer questions are going to require you to respond in full sentence format. I mentioned that you have 3 short answer questions, but within each of those 3, you have kind of 3 sub questions. So it'll be 1 ABC, 2 ABC, 3 ABC. So you got to answer all of them. For each letter A, B, and C, I recommend using the following format to help you answer the question thoroughly. And the name of this technique is called TEA, just like a cup of tea, okay? What TEA stands for is thesis, evidence, analysis. If you're responding, and sometimes you may not need to write 3 full sentences, sometimes you might be able to get away with 2, okay, depending on the depth that the thing is asking you for. Usually if you hear words like explain or describe, those kinds of words are asking you to kind of go into some degree of depth, right? TEA works like this. You basically come up, what is a thesis? A thesis is a central argument. What a thesis does, and this is, I want to be clear on this, it responds to the question. It does not, and I repeat, it does not restate the question. At no point when you're writing your answers to short answers or DBQs or LEQs in the future will you ever restate the question. And I don't want you to do it in your reading guides, and I don't want you to do it in any of your tests, okay? You never restate the question. You go directly into responding to that question with a thesis statement, with a valid claim, a historically defensible claim. Okay, that's your first sentence, responding directly to the question. A reminder about that, remember remember Persia. Think about what the questions are asking you. Did it ask you about economic consequences? Don't start talking about political ones then. Did it ask you about religious causes? Don't start talking about whatever, social ones or something like that. Be thinking in the framework of a historian, okay? And be reading the questions carefully. 9 times out of 10, and I'm making that number up, when people get these questions wrong, it's because they haven't read the question carefully enough, and they go on and start responding to something that the question isn't really asking you about. So please do read the questions carefully. The first sentence of your response is going to be that T in TEA, thesis, evidence, analysis, is going to be your thesis statement. The second sentence is evidence. What is evidence? Evidence is a specific piece usually of historical event, a phenomena of some sort, a person, something, okay, a piece of evidence, okay, that you can use. It could be a painting, it could be a piece, it could be a quote, it could be whatever, okay? There's a lot of things that historians use as evidence, right? So your second sentence is going to go into, it's going to dig beneath the surface. You're making a claim, okay, which is maybe a little bit more broad statement, but that claim can't hold any weight unless you support it with some supporting evidence down here, okay? So make sure that you provide a specific piece of evidence to support the claim that you just made. That's the E in TEA. And then finally, A, analysis, okay? Offer a sentence that provides clarity, further understanding. Oh, by the way, that's not blood. This is just paint. I was painting yesterday, model figures, and I dipped my hand in the paint. So anyway, but the point being that the last sentence is analysis. And what you're doing with this statement, analysis, is providing kind of more explanation, all right? How, why does this piece of evidence support your claim that you made? Okay, that's basically, in a nutshell, the TEA format. And if you're doing that on each of those 1A, 1B, 1C, if we quote, can we quote from the textbook? Okay, no, because you can't use your book on the test unless you have the quote memorized, okay? But you shouldn't be quoting, really. To be honest with you, I don't want you to quote. I'd rather, analysis isn't so much quoting, okay? It's more explaining in your own words. For a historical piece of evidence, quotes sometimes work, okay? But I would rather have you paraphrase. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it, I guess. Paraphrasing, I feel like, is taking a big idea, though, and bringing it down into a few words. I'm not really asking you to paraphrase. I'm asking you to analyze, okay? And there is a difference. What I'm trying to get you to do is to speak as someone who has knowledge on the subject, to offer your own insight as to what's going on in your own words. I'm not asking you to take somebody else's argument and then reduce it and paraphrase it for me. That's not really what I'm trying to get you to do. I'm trying to get you to explain to me in your words what's going on. Now, for the evidence side of things, it doesn't have to be a quote. In fact, it probably shouldn't be a quote, because unless you just happen to have a good quote in your head that that whatever really stuck with you or something like that. Maybe in that case you can use it, but generally speaking, you're not going to need to use a quote. You can just use your own words to describe or explain a piece of evidence from the class. Okay, and that could be something that we've read, that could be a painting, that could be whatever, facts or things that happened at that time or whatever, events, okay? But not quoting per se, because quoting is going to make me think that you have your book open while you're taking the test, which you definitely should not. Okay, so at this time, now that I've taken 15 minutes to explain this, is there, yeah, no problem. Is there any other questions, comments, concerns that I can address at this time before I turn you loose and have you get started on this? Is there a way to pause the test if we don't finish within our class period? Well, let's see here. 1 hour, what time is it right now? 8, and this class ends at 9. Is that right? Shoot, I went too long. Sorry about that. No, there is not a way to pause the exam. Who was the greatest ruler of X? X was the greatest ruler. That's not restating the question, that's responding to it. Restating the question would be like, you know, like saying like, of all of the rulers, which was the greatest, or something like that. That's restating the question. It's still, if you're restating a question, you're still asking a question. If you're responding to the question, you're answering the question. That's the big difference there. Okay, any other questions, comments? If you end up showing up 2 minutes late, you should be able to finish it, kids. You might end up being 2 minutes late to your next class or whatever, unless you're just freaking out about showing up 2 minutes late to the Zoom of your next class, in which case, then just wait until this afternoon to start it, okay, and then use the rest of this class to study. But I suspect that some of you want to get started and get this over with right now. So I'm going to give you that time to do that. And please do get this test done today. And before we sign off, could I please have you guys answer to me, what was the best thing that happened this weekend? Just for attendance purposes. Sheree saw her twin cousins, Michelle playing cards. It will still stay open after this. It will close at 11:59. Which means don't start it at 11:58 because it'll close at 11:59. Went to the beach. I watched anime. I got some free time. Nice. I got to see one of my friends. Got to sleep in. Played video games. Nice. Ate ice cream. Got to sleep. Went to my grandparents' house and had dinner. Nice. Good. Sounds like you guys had a really nice weekend. Wow. Went to the park. You guys got to sleep in a bit. That's fantastic. Always love that. Went swimming. Great. Sounds like you guys had a really, really nice weekend. So that's fantastic. Justin got to sleep in. That's great. Okay, so at this time, go ahead and get started. And then, finish it. Or if you're planning on waiting till this afternoon, make sure you give yourself an hour and 10 minutes before 11:59 p.m. to get the thing done. That means that the latest that you could possibly start it would be like, what would that be? 10:49 p.m. would be the latest that you can start it and still have full time to take it, okay? So please do get it done, and I will be adding these to the grade book by probably around Wednesday. All right, folks, thanks so much for tuning in this morning. Get going on your test, get it done, do a good job, and we'll talk to you again on Wednesday. Have a great day.